When it comes to making YouTube videos, there's this myth that you need high quality gear in order to make high quality videos. And that's not the case. And in most cases you have what you need in your pocket. And to prove that, I made this entire segment using my smartphone. So let's jump into this. Welcome everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to my channel where we talk about all things tech for streamers, gamers, and content creators. So if you enjoy any of those kind of topics, feel free to leave a subscribe and be up to date for when I release more videos like this. But for today, I'm going to be showing you how to make high quality videos using nothing but your smartphone and a cheap little microphone. So let's get into it. Now for this video, I'll be using my Samsung Galaxy S10, but this will work with any other smartphone that can record in 1080p. But for most of the features I'm going to be using and talking about, it's going to be for newer Samsung models, and it might not be in other phones like iPhones or Huawei's or any other type. So the reason I'm actually making this video is because if you want a YouTube channel where you have high quality video and you want to add some cinematic B-roll to that, to get a camera that can actually do all of those things are going to be expensive, since most entry-level cameras don't actually have high frame rates, and the highest they can actually go is around 1080p 60. They're not full frame, and they might not actually have all the features that you want or need for your channel. Now if you're someone like me who has a newer smartphone, making high quality content is not that hard, and that will actually allow you to make high quality content for your YouTube channel and save up until you can actually afford a DSLR or a mirrorless camera that's full frame and actually has all of the features that you want. Now to quickly glance over the cameras the S10 has, it has 3 rear cameras, one wide angle that is 12 megapixel, has an aperture of 1.5 2.4 and a field of view of 77 degrees, a telephoto camera of 12 megapixels, an aperture of 2.4 and a field of view of 45 degrees, and also featuring a 2x optical zoom on that telephoto camera, and then an ultra wide camera with a field of view of 120 degrees at 16 megapixels with an aperture of 2.2. But what actually is amazing about all of these is what they can shoot. So with the S10, not only can I shoot in 4K 60 and 30, but I can also shoot it in 1080p, 30, 60, and 240 frames per second. And if you really want to go slow mode, you can even go to 720, 960 frames per second. Granted, it's only for like a short period of time. So with the S10 alone, I can shoot at a higher res and a higher frame rate than I can with my Canon SL2 or 200D, depending on where you are in the world, provided that you keep in mind that the quality of the phone will still be lower when zoomed in because it has a much smaller sensor. So all this means that even though your phone can shoot at 4K, if you compare it to a camera that can shoot 4K, the camera will always win, since the camera has a bigger frame size and better lenses and all those things. But what the phone allows you to do is shoot high quality video that's comparable to a camera while allowing you to shoot at high frame rates for buttery smooth B-roll that you can add to all of your videos. And where the S10 really surprised me was with live focus and pro video mode. And for those of you using iPhones, you probably use the portrait mode, and in Samsung it's just called live focus. And what it does is it uses all of the cameras and depth sensors to distinguish your subject from your background, and then adds a simulated bokeh or background blur to make your pictures look like they were taken with high-end quality DSLR cameras instead of like a phone. And with the newer Samsung phones, you can take that one step further and you can make live focus videos, which allows you to make videos with a simulated background blur to make it look like you actually shot it with a DSLR camera and actually got that depth of field. Now apart from live focus video, which adds a simulated background blur, you can actually use pro video on newer Samsung models, which allows you to select things like your ISO, your shutter speed, your white balance, and your autofocusing points to really dial in the camera for your scene and things that you actually need for that scene. Now what this also allows you to do is actually have your smartphone camera look as close to a DSLR camera as I think any phone will really do, as you can actually dial in all of those settings with low apertures, and if you really go into your subject, it creates that real life bokeh or background blur as a camera would without it being artificial or added in post-production. Now that you actually have high quality video, what about high quality audio? And the guys at Rode have you covered, and I guess you could probably use any other brand, but this Rode Video Micro, which is just like this one, and the mic kind of looks like this, and you just kind of add an auxiliary cable in there. And this little mic works amazingly, as you don't need any other batteries or external power cables to power it. All you need is an auxiliary cable and plug that directly into your camera. And if you're using it on a smartphone, you'll also need one little adapter cable. It goes into your smartphone, and then that little cable just goes from the mic into that. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description below, but just one thing to keep in mind is that if you're using a newer iPhone, the actual adapter uses an auxiliary to an auxiliary. So if you don't have an auxiliary point on your phone like newer iPhones do, you might need to go and find another adapter, but I'll try and find one and leave it down in the description below as well for you guys. Now, once you have the adapter, the microphone, and the camera that can shoot at 1080p on your smartphone, you will be able to provide high quality content that has high quality audio and high quality video that if you were to post that online, a lot of people won't even know that it was made with a smartphone. And what's great about this is that nothing goes to waste. If you had a smartphone, you didn't have to go and buy a smartphone. And if you had to buy the mic, you can use that mic once again once you actually have a DSLR or mirrorless camera, as it's still compatible with cameras as well. So nothing goes to waste. Now, just one little thing to keep in mind before we end this video is that smartphones have this tendency to over sharpen, over contrast, and over saturate everything it does. So if you take pictures or you make videos, chances are that those are going to be too sharp, too contrasty, and it's going to have way too much vibrance in the colors. So if you really want to sell the effect that you used a DSLR camera instead of using a smartphone, just remember that in your editing software, in the post-production part, just remove a little sharpness, a little contrast, and remove a little bit of the saturation, and that will make the video quality actually look more like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera compared to having it look like a DSLR that you may have either over sharpened, over saturated, or have it look like it was made off of a smartphone. And I know I said that's the final point, but just bear in mind that I made this video not for you to go and buy a smartphone and make content using a smartphone, as smartphones are pretty expensive and you could buy a lower end DSLR camera instead of actually going and buying a smartphone. This was more aimed at people who have smartphones, and instead of going out and buying lower end DSLR cameras, I would say rather save up until you can get a higher end DSLR or mirrorless camera that's full frame, actually has all the settings that you need, for example high frame rates, instead of going and buying a lower end one and having to sell that one later on when you inevitably want to actually upgrade to a better camera. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that little bell notification to get notified when I post my next video. And since I can't go into too much depth with all of these videos, if you have any questions regarding these topics, please leave it down in the comment section below, or come ask me while I'm live. I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon at 8 p.m. South African time. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop on in there, give me a follow, and ask me all the questions you'd like. Until next time, cheers.